Yeah, we did it. Yeah, what's
Thanks,
up?
guys.
Yeah.
Oh, good to see you
Oh,
both. It's been
Well,
years.
yeah,
dude,
I
I haven't
know.
I've
seen
worked
you in
with both
so
of you.
long. I know.
I
Dude,
know. I
I'm
know.
spacing. I'm sorry I haven't seen what's the show that Scheer's talking about that everybody's talking
Don't be
about? Startup.
sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm happy you knew.
Startup.
I'm startup. I'm happy you knew
Yeah.
about it. That show,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I may, is a real like. That's kind of the most surprising thing I feel like in my career, just because we shot that 5 years ago.
Oh,
And
whoa.
well, we shot first season 5 years ago, and then like 2016 to 2018, 20, something like that, 2015, 2018. And then it was on Crackle, which was kind of a non-existent,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
streamer. And then Netflix just bought it, and now it feels like a hit. It's so weird.
That's
I
so
thought it
Crazy.
was
funny. It's
dead
like,
and buried a long time ago.
That's so crazy.
but that's what is going on a lot. Like, all those shows that were on, what is that network that went away for a second? My God, that not Tubby, oh man, the Quibi.
Quibi.
All
Yeah.
these Quibi shows like
Maybe.
went to
Oh, are they
Roku,
doing? Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
doing like they've gotten like quadruple the views that they've ever gotten, and like people are like, oh, these are really good.
Dude, I've seen a lot of people talking about Startup where I was like, when the fuck did he make this show? Like I literally, because now I'm trying to figure out,
You know where
like,
I?
do people
You know where?
shoot this?
Rob, do you know
Yeah.
where? Do you know where I made it, and partially why I was in it? Puerto Rico, like the year after we worked there. So I did 3 years
What?
in Puerto Rico
Oh
after
my
that.
God.
Yeah. For
Oh
those of
yeah.
you that
Just
don't know, Rob and I worked in the jungle in Puerto Rico.
dude, I
So,
forgot
anyways,
about
and I
that.
had such a nice experience that I was like, I could do that again. Absolutely.
Yeah. I forgot about that, man. Yeah, me and Adam shot this movie with the one and only Jean-Claude Van Damme in Puerto Rico. I don't know if that movie is on Netflix or it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's like I haven't watched it in a million years, but
I
doing
haven't seen it since
doing shit with Jean-Claude Van Damme, like when someone said it's going to be in Puerto Rico and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I was like, yes. I was like, totally, I'll totally do it. And that was like quite an adventure, and he's actually like funny and
he's lovely.
such an interesting dude, like so interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like he's
it was so
constantly kind of like
surreal.
Very surreal. Yeah. He wears a hat, dude. He wears a hat. Oh, I'm wearing a Bigfoot hat. That's cool. My daughter gave me this. So I don't make fun of me.
Very cute. No,
yeah, I love it.
But he wears a hat that says JCVD on it. Like wears that hat out. And but he's such a legendary guy, and I feel like he just sort of rolls with that confidence, of like, hey, you know who I am, it's really interesting.
I'm always kind of blown away by that level of celebrity where you were like the number one person, like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and then obviously like when you're an action star, you just get your body gets older. Like you're not going to be the most convincing person unless you're like Liam Neeson. But I mean, so it is an interesting way to be like, but I feel like he's transitioned the best in the sense of like, he's almost a meta version of himself and he gets it and he's super funny and cool.
Well, I've never been, honestly, and like I've worked with, some of the biggest people, and as we all have at this point, and I've never been a starstruck because no one is ever like, I was in 7th grade and I just played him. Like my friend and I would go in the backyard and do double impact, and I'd be one of the twins and you'd be the other twin, and and we'd fight. And like, so it was just and he's such a character. That it was just like the whole thing. Just looking at him and watching him talk, it just is never. No one has been larger than life to me in that way that I've worked with.
I just remembered this. I haven't thought about this in so long, but he would kind of hold court. We were all staying. This is a tiny little cheapy movie that we made. Kristen Shaw's in it. Eric. I got to remember Eric's last name.
Eric Edelstein,
Megan Boone from The Blacklist.
Yeah.
Megan Boone from The Blacklist.
Yeah.
We were shooting this movie with her, and Megan was like, this is before The Blacklist. This was right before The Blacklist. And I remember Megan goes like, yeah, I don't know about acting, man. I think I'm going to I don't know if I'm really into it. And then like a month later, she got The Blacklist and it's just like, wow. while. But I remember JCVD. My wife came down once to visit in Puerto Rico and stayed for like a few nights. But the first night she got there, JCVD calls me up, and he never knew my name. He only knew my character's name, which was Phil. And he's like, my phone rings. I don't know who it is. And I pick up, and he's like, Phil, JCVD, Phil, come out to the pool, Phil, come out to the pool. And I was like, I was like, Jean-Claude, actually my wife is here. And so I think I'm going to like, cuddle up with my wife. And he's like, no, Phil, come out to the pool. And so I think I like went out to the pool. Like I did think I told my wife, I was like, I have to go.
If he calls, you got to go. The only time
bring her. You didn't bring her?
I think that was a smart move. I did not bring
my wife.
I think that was a smart move.
I didn't want my wife. I don't trust my wife around Jean-Claude Van Damme.
No, I would have brought. I would have.
No. He would put the moves on my wife so fast.
Who knows?
I would get like kicked in the face. This is my this will be my last JCVD story, and then we can talk about other stuff. But Adam and I, at the end of the movie, Adam and I have this big fight scene where we're like fighting in this big pit. And the movie's sort of like Lord of the Flies, where it's sort of like The Office meets Lord of the Flies. We get stranded on this deserted island, and Adam's the good guy and I'm the bad guy. And so Adam and I are fighting in the sand pit. And at the very end, Jean-Claude Van Damme shows up and like does one of those spinning kicks to my face. And so we're trying to sort of, before the shot, we're sort of, lining it up so I don't actually get kicked in the face by Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he goes, Phil, I'll never kick you. I will never, ever kick you, Phil. And I'm doing a terrible Jean-Claude impersonation.
I actually like it.
You kind of are.
But I just was like,
better.
I was like, yeah, he's Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's not going to kick me. He knows what to do. So of course we shoot, and the camera's behind me, and I'm just gonna like fake it. And he's supposed to just like miss me, like come right in front. And of course he kicks me. Of course, like just the tip of his fucking shoe just goes like boop, bap. And I was like, oh, and I was like, I went down and I was like, all right, I got kicked in the face by Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's pretty fucking cool. Like whatever.
Oh, wow, what an honor.
Yeah, it was like a real honor.
But it's a tough moment there because you don't want to look weak in that moment. Like on the league one time, there's this like whole setup that there was a scary like boogeyman called like the Baba Man, and I happened to be wearing a hoodie and walking down a dark alley, and they thought I was this like scary boogeyman, and they attacked me and they start kicking me. And the stuntman's like, you'll be fine. We'll put these things on you and you'll be great. But he didn't teach any of the actors how to like hold back their kicks. Like, so I'm on the ground in like downtown LA with 4 dudes kicking me with both of their feet, like bam, 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 bam. And I'm like covering my head, and I'm wearing like they call it like a gaiter, like it's on your back and on your front, like it's armor, but where you're not protected are your sides. That's exactly where they're kicking me. And I literally I'm like, and it's also like you're acting like, ow, ow, ow. And so like, they're not calling cut. I'm like getting the shit kicked out of me by everybody. And then like, how do you feel? I'm like, it's okay. I feel okay. And I literally just had black and blues up either side. I had like a bruised rib. Like it was just awful. And the worst part was the stunt guy at the end was like, you're fine, right? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like they did kick me. And then I found out later that Jason Mantzoukas was kicking me with steel-toed shoes. And he was like, you're fine, he's fine. I'm like, yeah, I just want to like maybe lay down first.
These were like,
oh no, these are actors. These are all the league guys who didn't know how to do any sort of stunts, kicking the shit out of me.
Like so overzealous, like extras,
No, this is all like, and they all thought I was protected. So he's like, just kick him, he's fine. And in theory, if I had protection there, I would have been fine. And so I'm like all hurt, and I'm like, oh guys, I'm like, and I couldn't take it off because I couldn't like raise up my arm. And I'm in this like alley. And he's like, dude, I really don't want to travel back to base camp. If you could just take off those pads right now, that'd be great. So like to add insult to injury, like I'm getting undressed in an alley, like in downtown LA, like trying to take off pads, like in my underwear, like just black and blues. It was like, but also trying to be like, I'm fine. I'm fine. It was just, I feel like I try to be tough in front of a stuntman, but I'm like,
yeah, I always do that. I always try to be tough in front of stunt people, and then I go home and I'm fucking like destroyed. Hey Adam, the Kid Detective man is so fucking cool and good. And
I
before I forget, where do people watch it? I think I watched it on Apple TV, but can you watch it all over the
Yeah,
place?
Apple, Amazon, most of the
Okay.
rentals. I'm sure some. It's
can we
on
like come over
Stars
to your
now, too,
house if we
actually.
want? And like, yeah, if we come
we
over to
can
your
just
house and
come to
bring
your
snacks.
house, right? Yeah, we'll come to your house.
I would love that. I would love that. I expect
Where
that.
who directed
all
it?
the
Where did
spots.
who directed that?
That
And
was
like,
also a kind of long process. I mean, like startup. This Canadian kid named Evan Morgan. I call him a kid, but he's mid-30s, early 30s,
Yeah.
but younger than me. And met at the Toronto Film Festival in like 2012. And and then I saw him at Sundance. He had a movie. Anyways, he had like he didn't direct, but kind of co-directed a very cool little movie that won Slam Dance, and pitched me this idea. I was like, great. And then sent me the first act. I loved it. We talked about where it could go. Came back a year later with the script, pretty much as is. And then it was just like 4 or 5 years of just talking to, having fairly boring conversations, trying to get it made with people, figuring out how to skin that cat. And then I had given up hope, kind of. And then Canadian Telefilm ended up paying for a lot of it because I'm basically the only American in it. And that opened the door to more money. And so here we were, like 7 years later on the set. And that's never happened to me before. I've tried to get a few things made. And after 3-4 years, they just kind of go away. And for this it was so weird to be on the set.
Yeah.
And then, and such a dream to kind of have a healthy budget and not really have to compromise creatively. Like, that's the movie we want to make, for better or worse. And so that was cool. We were so thankful for the money. Had 2 really good producers. I'll make this quick. But then we're editing during the pandemic, and then found out that like, oh, it's a first look deal with Sony. It has to be, like, we have no choice. We didn't really know that. And they didn't like court us or tell us anything. Like, you have to take it. We're like, what are they going to do with it?
Yeah.
And they're like, doesn't matter. They're not talking. No one's talking. So gave it to them. And then like last October, couple weeks before, like a week before, they're like, we're going to put it on 1,000 screens next week. Here's and this was like when everything was closed down. They're like, here's a rough trailer. Give us notes if you want. It's coming out tomorrow. And they're very nice, I should say. I don't want to,
Yeah, sure.
So anyways, it dropped, it was like everywhere and nowhere, but it allowed us to get some nice reviews and get build some momentum until came on streaming. And that's the story of that. And it's still kind of finding some viewers.
I kind of feel like the cool thing about this time that we've been in is that, whereas we're getting out of it now, people were so starved for good stuff. So I felt like stuff that was good really got like its props, because it was like, we are just desperate to watch something new. And I feel like that was like one of those movies that, like, in a weird way, because of this, it's like, great. It's like, what can I rent tonight? And it'll be on, and I can like, it's a weird thing, especially with movies like that, where it's like, you don't know how people will find it, but at that point, everyone's so ravenous to find anything. Like, oh, I heard about this. This is great. This is great.
It feels like, and I think it happens anyway, but it reminds me of being on a plane and you're watching whatever. You're watching like 3 movies at once, and I'm up to, that looks good. I'll try that next time when my neighbor's watching.
Well,
I didn't even set it up. Tell people the setup of the movie, because I didn't. If people haven't seen it, give them just sort of the.
It's a former kid detective, like boy, celebrated town, 12-year-old detective who solves petty crime, and a girl his age goes missing and is not found, and he kind of can't get over it or move on, and neither can the town really. And 20 years later, or 15 years later, it's me, and he's a drunk, and he's very stunted, and still has the same office, and is still solving trivial little mysteries. But it's much, I would say, it gets much darker than it sounds, and also it's deeper than it sounds. I mean, it's an admittedly very silly, broad premise, and it is very silly and broad, but it also has some rich themes as well.
Yeah, I thought that like the genius of that movie is taking what would sound like a comedy pitch and then putting making it like very dramatic and real and grounded, and because it does sound, if you just told someone that pitch in a bar, like, oh, it's a kid detective that everyone used to love and he kind of never grew out of that, and now he's like sort of a sad loser and he's a drunk and like he's still obsessed with this one case he couldn't solve. Like, you know, it sounds a little bit like comedy with a capital C, but it's like it totally played real.
Yes.
And I just thought the tone of it, it's very like a noir movie. It's like a cool, like
It
a,
is.
like
No,
a, yeah.
it is. It's that mashup of like almost Blue Velvet of like, because it's the kids. It's like noir meets kids fiction, so it's bright
Yeah,
but dark, and it's
Yeah.
got these nice contrasts. But you know what I
it's
really
really
liked about
fun.
it? One of the things, and this is almost even more superficial, but what I got such a joy out of, and I think we and Evan did well, is like building a world. You know, building a sort of, for all the love of Wes Anderson and Coen brothers and Tarantino and those sort of heightened cartoony worlds or cinematic worlds, like there's actually not that many people make. I mean, I'm sure, I know there's a million imitators, and I
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
think you don't get to build a world that much. You know, it was fun to kind of try and. How many times
Well, I
can I
think
say build a world? I'll say one more
I
time.
like building a world, but I feel like you're right. Like I think that sometimes like world building is also looked at when it's so broad. Like, and by the way, I love a Wes Anderson movie, of course, but like there's something about like a more like Avatar world building, but it's like this is like a real, like you felt like it was lived in and kind of created. Like, I mean, subtle, but like like I don't know. It's like it's not a showy world building, but it's like there, if that makes sense. Or I don't know. I like it felt a little bit different than like making it feel. I don't know. I think it was smart. I think it was cool and smart and looked great.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
just
find.
remember,
I mean, I'm saying all those, but I don't find it derivative of any of
No,
those
yeah,
influences. You know, I just think it's got that nice. Again, I know it's a cheap word, but almost pulpy, cartoony kind of
yeah,
yeah,
background
I
that
think it's
and
cool.
cinematic.
I think it's amazing, man, when a director can actually nail a specific tone, because it's so fucking hard. It's so hard, like, because you know, like you read a script and you're like, this could be a really good script. This could also be garbage if the wrong person like makes this
Yeah,
movie. You
dude.
know, like,
yeah.
but like a director, a really good director can create a tone that is consistent through the whole movie, that like that hasn't really been done before. You know, it's not like ripping off
Mm.
someone else, and I'm always blown away by that, man.
I am fascinated by this show. I want to tell you both about it because it encapsulates exactly what you're talking about, Rob. It's a show called The Chair. It was only on for one season on Stars. And the premise of The Chair was one script, two directors, two different movies.
Oh, I
Right.
love
So
it. I
Oh
love it. I
it's,
don't
wow,
know it, but I already
wow.
love it.
yeah. So it
Yeah, I
was
love
done by
that.
one of the Project Greenlight guys. And it was a great idea. So they
That's
get,
a more interesting version.
it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just like a
yeah.
fun, it was really, yeah. Cause you actually saw what they brought to the process. And what they had to do was they have this one script. One guy was a YouTube guy, and the woman was a like a more of a mumblecore indie film director. And they both had to shoot in Pittsburgh, use the same, like they had access to all the same materials, same budget, same like locations. I mean, she could pick whatever locations, he could pick whatever, but they were in the
Yeah,
same area. So, and the movies are so wildly different, it's
yeah.
shocking, but it really just goes to show you. And I feel like people don't get that, like what someone brings to something. It's like the same script, and they
Mm-hmm.
both produced
Mm-hmm.
wildly different products. It's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Directing, it's powerful. It's really cool. I actually
Yeah.
had a it's funny, my Evan who directed it, like we sort of disagreed. We clashed a little, you know. Here he was, my kid brother for 5 years as we tried to get his movie made, and
Yeah.
then we get to set. He wrote it for me, like with me in mind, and then
Right.
we get to set, and then he's like, up my ass, first day, like, wanting to
Wow.
rehearse so much, and is just like comes with too many notes like right away. Where I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to act it too, you know.
Yeah.
And but tonally, because the third act is much, you know, even though all the clues are there and the themes and the ideas and the plot is there to be a dark movie, the third act is much darker than the first and second act of The Kid Detective. And so he always kind of had his eyes on the prize. Ugh, I hate that I said that, but still. And you know, and he so I would do it, and he'd go smaller, 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 you know, and I'm like, really smaller still. He's like, yeah, too much. I'm like, really too much still, because that was about a 1, but you want it fucking less. And so I got to a point where I was like, well, I clearly have the authority to go, I'm going to do what I want. Just you back off, and this is where I'm doing, and you can direct me in the parameters of where I want to be. But I was like, this movie's going to succeed or fail because he's a genius or not. And like, I can either go with his vision, or I'm not going to reverse engineer this to being a great movie. If he doesn't already have the right idea, then the movie's fucked, and what are we going to do? So I decided to trust him with some caveats, and he was mostly very right. So
I mean, but by the way, like that's a hard thing to do, because I think it makes you super vulnerable too. Like,
but also with like a younger director, and I can't remember if this guy was a new director or whatever, but like,
if it's like first time director.
Yeah, so that's terrifying. It's terrifying because it's just like, this could be some dude that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and I just blew 3 months away from my family in fucking Canada, you know, like, or whatever. Yeah.
But in Canada, yes. But the script is genius. So it's I know he's a genius. I just don't know if he's a genius director or just a writer, you know. But like, I do know he's a fucking bright guy.
There's a great article. I got to find it. It's when this movie Last Vegas came out, and it's like Michael Douglas, Morgan Freeman, and like I want to say Alan Arkin,
Michael Caine. I'm just gonna
Michael Caine. Yes.
Arkin, okay, great.
So it basically like old man hangover, right? It's like Michael Douglas is getting married, and they're all going to Vegas, and they're doing this like roundtable discussion with them at EW, and like what the interviewer basically goes like, you know, and you're working with this new director, and you know, what did he bring to the table? And then they all immediately go off like, oh, I don't listen to the director at all. No. Like, no. I don't need to get notes from this guy. It's like Morgan Freeman's like, oh no, I'll never take a note from a director. Like they're all in a full agreement that they will never listen to a director. And
I gotta address this situation in the chat. I said fucking Canada. That was not a slam on Canada. Everyone
just means you were away from home. That's all, right?
Away from home.
Yes, I would move to Canada tomorrow if they would have me. Yeah, I love Canada.
By the way, Adam, I want to talk to you about one thing just to see if you had the same experience I did. First of all, we're both in this documentary about Blockbuster that I didn't really remember shooting. And then it came on Netflix, and I feel like everyone in the world saw this documentary. Like, have you like felt that too? Like, people have talked to you about this doc at all?
Yes. And not to just to bring in startup again. It's the power of like the homepage of Netflix is probably has 5 times the viewership of any other homepage. And it's very good interface too. It's big, you know, it's attractive. It's like, and I just see it with the startup as well. Like, oh, you're on the homepage, and it's a changes your life.
Well, it's a wild thing, because it's like, no one, like when people go, I have to cut back on whatever I'm subscribing to, no one's cutting back on Netflix. Like, Netflix will always be like, well, I'll always have Netflix, and then I'll get other stuff. But
you know what's crazy? What's crazy about the homepage is after we did Medical Police, we had a meeting with like their marketing team, and I just didn't know how it all works, but they obviously have so many different box covers that they can target to different audiences specifically. So if it's a female audience that's interested in Adam Brody, Adam's going to be on the cover. If it's a male audience and there's a hot girl in the movie, they're going to put the girl on the box. And you know, so when we went in there for Medical Police, like they had like all these different versions, and they're like, and when it goes to Germany, we're going to have Jason Schwartzman on the cover because he's big. And, you know, I was like, I mean, they figured it all out. Like, it's crazy. And I mean, you know, and obviously also they just have all the data in the world. They can see like, not just how many people watched it, how long they watched it, what else they watch, who else they're friends with. So like, they can just fucking like laser beam it in. And you're right, dude. It can just like change like the fucking like the course of a whole project. Like they can blow you up, or conversely, they can bury you too. Like you could just be like, oh, okay, never mind.
I know, it's so wild. It's like when you get in that
Yeah, if
moment
you're not
where
on the
everyone's
homepage and you're not suggested, then you can't be. No one's searching for it. You know?
yeah, right. It's like it's too much at that point. It's like, yeah, what like just get me like because you're not gonna go. I don't type in. By the time I'm like, it's like forget about it.
That makes me think about the other project we all did together a million years ago, which was Burning Love. Which
oh my god, I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
that we were all in it. Yeah,
that we were all in. Yeah, and Ken Marino was sort of the and Erica. What's Erica's last name?
It's his wife,
Oyama.
Right?
Yeah. Erica Oyama. Yeah. She wrote it and directed it, and Ken sort of honchoed it all. But that was one of those things that like I still have such affection for that because it was a dumb parody of a very dumb genre, you know, like all those bachelor shows. But we shot it.
Not all
in, but shooting in one of those real mansions.
We were in a real
But also just to do a project like that with like for real, like in my mind, just the funniest people and like Paul, not the least of which is June.
Oh my God.
People don't know Paul's wife, June. Paul's wife, is the star of Burning Love and
season 2.
Yeah, the season 2, and is the fucking funniest thing I've ever seen. Like she's so good, and like everyone else was just sort of window dressing for June, but like
she really killed. It was such a funny bit, and they did such a great job with it. And I can't believe like what I loved about it was that premiered on Yahoo. And a lot of people who were watching it thought it was real, and they were writing in the comments like they didn't understand, because I feel like there were certain people that they did recognize, and then they would write them off like, so like, oh, I recognize Adam. It's weird that he's on a dating show, like, and but then they were like, but this is a dating show. Like there was like this weird disconnect because it was going out to so many people, like the Yahoo homepage. Like it's just like, who is that for? I don't know who's. And I remember people getting into fights about it, like, this is a scripted comedy show. Like, and they were in the chat going, I bet this person's gonna get kicked off next. She does not like him. She does not like that guy. Like,
yeah. But they need to find, that thing needs to find a better home. Like that should be on Netflix or Amazon or something.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's amazing too how like that was like what 10 years ago, and it's like
it's wild.
I don't know how long this Bachelor show can last, but I mean, I guess.
By the way, we were making
for a few years.
The Bachelor show at that point, I think, was on for 10 years, and being like, okay, well, they can't get more heightened than this. And then, if you watch The Bachelor now, we're not as heightened as the actual Bachelor. I remember they put a woman in, and she had an issue where she was missing one of her limbs, and they put her in a roller derby, and she's like, guys, I feel really uncomfortable. I don't want to do this. I feel like I can't. I just am bad with my balance, and I can't really do this. And they're like, you got to, if you want the rose, you got to do it. And they're like, and that was a whole sequence. This woman, like, okay, I'll do it. And it was like, that would be like if we wrote that, like, that's too mean, that's too weird. You can't do that. And they usurped us within a year. The Bachelor is doing way crazier stuff than the Burning Love ever did.
I'm honestly surprised, because that sounds interesting compared to what I've seen of it. And I've seen like a good 2-3 solid 3 seasons, and I'm just always surprised at like how bland they make it. It's like there's 5 lines. We're gonna have 20 seasons, so you can say 5 fucking things, and you have all these real people, even if they're boring people. Like you're in a room and you're human beings, and you're on a mountaintop, and you're doing interesting things, kind of. And like, I'm sure something was of note was said, but it's like, I can't believe they can keep going, keep it, you know.
The dinner dates are so boring because it's like, you're right. They're not saying anything. They're like, are you here for the right reasons? Yeah, I am here for the, like, they're just
contractually allowed to say 5 things. I don't know.
But they're talking about love but they're not getting to know each other. It's like, I want to be in love. I do want to be in love. Do you want to like, but wait, but who are you? Like those dinners make me so angry. I like getting to the dinner, and I like the people waiting around that didn't get asked for the dinner. But whenever you actually see the true connection, it is garbage talk. It's just like, I like pillows, but it's like, even that's almost too much information that they're sharing.
Dude, I'm so glad to see you, man.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what you're working on next. And where we got to tell people one more time where they can watch Kid Detective and where
All
they can watch
streaming
Startup.
platforms.
Just go to
and-
app.
All right, everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, all streaming platforms for Kid Detective. The Startup is on Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, check that out. And those are great. And like, the Startup is really fun and really good. Is it one of those things where they would be like, oh, let's do more of these? I mean, is that even something in the cards, or are they?
You know, I see it on Twitter, obviously, but I've heard zero. And I'm actually rewatching it myself because I'm on location and I have this nice little got a nice little TV. And
nice.
they have Netflix here, and in the place I'm renting. And anyways, and I'm appreciating it way more. You know, Crackle made it so hard to enjoy it. They punish you with these commercials that you couldn't skip past, and they were they play the same commercial they pick 3 commercials and do that every 5 minutes.
Which is the most. It's like, I've seen it. I get it. Allegra. I don't need it, but thank you. Like, it's like, how many times do I need to see Allegra commercials in the same moment?
They're daring you to watch it, and so I've never really watched it in an optimal. Just been able to stream it easily. I've watched some on I've watched most of them on my computer, you know, but seeing it on the TV, I'm like, I have a newfound appreciation for it. I was like, what's this Startup show everyone's liking?
I love it. It's so good. Adam, it's so great to see you, buddy. Good luck
wherever
to see you,
dude.
Yeah. Enjoy
Thanks for having me, and good to see you too.